Okay, so Friday the 3rd of May. It's actually stopped raining, so I've taken the waterproof housing off the camera. Hopefully we'll get lucky enough and the heavens won't immediately open. You know, come on, weather. You've only got to stay reasonably, decent for like about 15 minutes. So, bit of housekeeping. You may notice from the beginning of this video that the drum sequence has changed. So Misanthropic Gods over in America has totally helped you out. If you didn't like the drum roll at the beginning, it's now been changed to a drum sequence that was originally part of something by the United States Air Force. So yeah, it is softer. He is right. It was a very jarring thing to do, and I apologise. It was me playing with the free hydrogen software just to get some sort of like sound on the intro rather than being quiet. I was trying for sort of like a television, type deal. So, oh, and thanks to Calum, who threw some coins in the virtual tip jar. That's much appreciated. That's the power of the internet. And in the manner of Ralph Waldo Emerson, who wrote Walden, and he was living in a cabin, and Walden's about living a simpler life. And while he was writing his survival blog, essentially, because that's what Walden is, it's like a survivalist blog. These days he'd be doing YouTube, he'd be like Les Stroud, but he was living in a reasonably comfortable cottage. And every Sunday his mother and sister would come by with a basket of donuts and baked goods. And I know about that story because of a really brilliant book by Amanda Palmer, who I thoroughly admire. She wrote a book called The Art of Asking, and said that creative people pretty much need to understand that if they want to do this as a job, you've got to say, then, I don't mind if 1 in 100 people pay me, because she started work as a living statue, and that allowed her to study, how people pay for creativity. People do support people being creative and doing interesting stuff. But if they don't see a means of supporting them, then they're not going to know how. They don't want to walk up to someone that's doing creating and I'll go through here. Let's go somewhere different this morning. Yeah, if people can't see a means of helping out somebody that's creating something that they enjoy, then they can't. So hence the virtual tip jar. If I can foresee a reasonable, income from that, I can reduce the amount of hours I do at my reasonably enjoyable. It's not very much effort, but it is a dead end job. So let's strike out. There is an economy out there that we only now, even now, decades, about a decade and a half since YouTube started, we still don't really understand how to do it. And yeah, so in her book, In the Art of Asking, she basically lays out the hurdle you've got to get across. So thank you very much to Calum. It is appreciated. That hopefully will break the floodgates, even though we don't have a lot of subscribers right now. But I am, when I talk to people, people are interested. So maybe it'll really take off once the army fitness thing has wrapped up in a few months' time, when people can see, right, this is the difference in my life then and my life now. I mean, we're less than 2 weeks into it, and I've already got 7 subscribers, people that are willing to watch everything that I put out, and I haven't even put a promo on my other YouTube channels. Well, the other YouTube channel, Rangers Tube, and the Church of Server YouTube channel. I mean, Church of Server isn't really connected to this, although if you were into the concept of Church of Server, and we haven't had enough time to really set it up, and it seems to be more of a group effort. There's a group of people that are interested in pushing that particular idea, but this is for everybody else. I mean, even if you don't get wrapped up in it. So yeah, so maybe months from now, when you can actually see the difference, it'll be more of a watch. So yeah, so drum roll, Caleb. Harlequin over in Australia, he's wandering about doing his thing and getting into the woods. So yeah, it appears that there is some interest. I mean, I haven't even really promoted it. So yeah, I'm going to see if I can run off some kind of laminated cards with the address on it and stuff like that, because people say, oh, where is it? And it is it's one of those things. It's shut down by the clever name. If I could have got a more snappy title, then maybe it would crop up. I thought it was pretty cool, but yeah. But there again, new phrases and words enter our lexicon all the time. So like Snapchat and Facebook and stuff like that. Those weren't words 20 years ago. So it's maybe it will become a thing if it gets popular enough. But I just thought that all the times that people talk about fitness or talk about changing their lives, it's always someone that has changed their life. Nobody's an in progress thing, and that's kind of what I want to talk about this morning. Another facet of things that we can fold in, some more sci-tech, as in psychology, technology, that people can maybe fold into their lives, and we need to test bed that. And you only ever speak to the sort of people that are a bit self-satisfied and doing the bit and extolling the virtues and stuff like that. So I'm trying to get up. One of the things that I was researching and looking into is the theory of people waking up first thing in the morning, like really early, in order to do their thing. There's people about. I'm going to wander back. So yeah, there's a lot of research that suggests getting up at, and I hesitate to say this, 4:30 in the morning means that you have a much more productive day. Now I work till late evening, and I need some wind down time before I can actually go to sleep after I've got back from work, because I get out of work, I've been working hard, especially in the last half an hour, I'm really going for it, and then I've got travelling and I'm on a bus and I've got to stay awake, and yeah, so I'm going to start, after reading this research, at 7 a.m. and I tried doing that this morning, and then I got distracted because of a habit I've laid down of getting up, walking downstairs, making a cup of coffee, and immediately getting on my computer. Now, studies say that as soon as you open yourself up to a reasonable level of distraction, then you're in trouble. I mean, I'm still out here at 9 in the morning, which is earlier than I used to get up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up at 7 a.m. and a lot of the research suggests drink a glass of water, have a stretch, get some exercise, and then you have the benefits of being up before anybody else and getting really productive. And another interesting snippet that I'm going to fold into that is from Neil Gaiman. He was asked some questions on the usual author questions: where do you get your ideas, how is your work day, and stuff like that. So and he said what he does is he goes into his writing studio. He's got a cottage at the end of his garden, like a little shed with nothing but a typewriter in it, or I think probably now a laptop, but I think probably just sticks to a typewriter. And he gives himself a rule where he can write or he can do nothing for however many hours he sets himself. And I thought that was pretty interesting. The only problem is a lot of where my stuff is coming from is research. I'm scouring all the hints and tips for people that want to be productive and entrepreneurial. I don't really want to be the sort of entrepreneur that's talked about these days on eBay, on YouTube rather. I don't want to be the entrepreneur. I don't want my passive income and my Lamborghini. But those people are getting stuff done, just the stuff that they're getting is kind of destructive. Whereas we don't want to be the sort of person that does all these weird pyramid schemes and these passive income schemes and stuff like that. I don't want to do a scheme, but those people do seem to get stuff across with enthusiasm, which I'm trying to project. I'm enthusiastic. And if we can use their technology to do something good, make people healthier, and see if we can get a whole group of people kind of to look at the problems of the world and see if the power of numbers, or the power of paying it forward, or just being decent human beings in enough of a group where people, this is why I set up this whole idea of, kind of heroism, where a whole group of people are, striving or coming up with ideas or just trying small things. So yeah, this getting up at 4:30 seems to give people a lot more energy. I mean, if I got up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I'd probably, if I went to bed as soon as I got in, or worked on it, I suppose I could get up at 4:30, but that would probably mean I was getting less sleep than required. So if I march it forward, if I got up at 6 o'clock is probably my 4:30. It's not like I'm wasting time at the end of my day. If I was working a 9-to-5 job, I'd probably have all that evening space. It'd probably be worth going to bed at 10 o'clock, and getting up at 4:30. I think I need at least 6 or 7 hours sleep. So if I say get up at, I'll try a week of getting up at 7, which is probably my 4:30, because if I have an hour or so at home after I get in, it's gone midnight before I can wind down enough to get to sleep. So let's say 7, gives me plenty of time. I mean, this morning I was thinking about getting up at 7 o'clock last night, and I normally wake up at 8, and I set my alarm for 7, and I woke up at 10 to 7. So I did get out of bed, I did drink some water, and I did a bit of a stretch, and I had a quick tidy up and put the coffee on, and then sort of, fortunately, I'd have to say, I definitely did benefit from it, but then started chatting online to people that live in different parts of the world. And if anybody was talking to me, especially Harlequin and Mr. Thrumpet Gods this morning, that was mind-blowingly beneficent. I found, there were lots of interesting links and things that we were talking about, and helpful stuff. I mean, just that drum roll might well improve the channel. So yeah, I mean, it's such a better sound to start the thing off. I think I may even, if I have a lot of time, go back and edit the previous episodes, because I don't want, people are easily put off stuff, and I don't want to be putting people off just as a result of me putting the wrong sound at the beginning of an episode. So yeah, so that totally worked out, and I did get stuff done. Had a bit of a tidy up, got some bills paid, sorted out a few things. I started off my anything under £10 in my bank account gets transferred to my savings account at the beginning. I'm going to be doing that every Friday, because part of this agoge thing, part of the thing that messes with people in their lives is money. Annoyingly, it's such a stupid thing, and it is all imaginary, but we do, it's a hallucination that everybody on earth buys into, because you have to, I guess, otherwise how would you value the value of your labour? That's probably where you want to go back and read Amanda Palmer's The Art of Asking. I'll put a link to Amazon for that. It's a book well worth having, even if you buy a second-hand copy. I mean, I think I've bought 2 copies of it for other people so far. People that I know that are creative, and just gone, you must read this. You know, if you want to do art as a job, or creativity as a job, you need this. Yeah. And I got talking about storytelling to Harlequin, and I found an amazing documentary on Jackanory, which was it was formed in the 1960s, and it is something that I think we should go back to. You know, I think we miss the sort of telling stories by the fire type thing of storytelling. You know, we don't, as a wind down thing. You know, I mean, it is a way of everything is okay. You know, everything is okay to such an extent we can now tell stories to each other, and then when, you know, we've told you a chunk of story, it's time to go to bed. And we get into that as children. If we're lucky enough, we have parents that read to us. But you know, my parents were both working when I was a kid, and no, they were just exhausted. You know, occasionally I'd get a bedtime story, but you know, tired adults. You know, and to be honest, if we take a wander back to Neolithic times, I can bet that if you've just hunted a gazelle or a deer and you fed the tribe, you're bush too, which is where, you know, the shaman, or you know, the wise man of the village would start telling stories. You know, there's a person for that. So I wonder if we can't do that. I bet there's some good stories out there. I bet there's, you know, I mean, we could just go back to Greek myth. I don't know if the people in the audience would watch that. Would you watch someone telling you Greek myth stories if they were good at it? So yeah, that's another thing. So that was the reason I didn't immediately run out of doors and do stuff. This is nice. This is a new bit like this. Yeah. So today's SciTech was all about getting up early and maybe the things we can do about sleep. And I found out something quite ridiculous. And it's a thing that definitely I've spoken to with this is why people don't come down here, with Harlequin in Australia. And you're not going to like this, but it's something that Jordan Peterson, yeah, that guy, says. Are you ready? This big life-changing moment, this moment that will actually make a difference, but is really stupid. When you get up in the morning, if you're lucky enough to be sleeping under a duvet, make your bed. I kid you not. Studies have shown, and I'm telling you as a personal study, before I even started Urban Agoge, one of the things I did every day, it started my habit forming routine, was make my bed and fold back a quarter of it. And studies have proven that that one thing that you can do actually makes you more productive. And as much as it pains me to agree with Professor Peterson, is yeah, it's right. I mean, don't then go on a Jordan Peterson tear, but you know, that's something that we've known for a while, studies in the 80s and 90s. But that one success in the morning, sort of in your brain, makes a pattern of success. You know, you've had one success, now go and have more, type thing that you tell your brain. So yeah, there is a bit of a noise over here, and in a minute I'll show you why, and it's worth it. I'm really pleased. So yeah, when you get up in the morning, have a stretch, expose yourself to sunlight. Way. This is the last video I'll be making. If you find this camera, sorry. So yeah, this pattern for success. And you know, the 4:30 in the morning thing, or as early as you can, so you get more of the day. And I understand that logically. You know, the end of the day, you're not going to be productive unless you're the sort of person that works till like 2 or 3 in the morning and is actually genuinely more productive. And even if you are, it's got to be worth it to try it. You know, if you are that sort of person where you are creative and, oh, my creativity happens at night, if you're planning to do that for the rest of your life, great, you know, and you're in that sort of position where you can, say you work freelance or you do something creative from home. I'm not sure how I'm going to get down here. It's only a little step. Juddery camera time. Yeah, if you're going to be one of those people that is going to work from home or works in a different time zone, you genuinely are creative at 2 in the morning, or you're productive at 2 in the morning, then cool. You know, but it's got to be worth seeing if it works for you. So, you know, getting up in the morning, having a stretch, exposing yourself to sunlight, drinking some water. Apparently you're supposed to make sure that the water is room temperature, not cold, because apparently the sudden shock to your system. But also, like, a glass of water first thing in the morning. See, I'm not looking at the camera because it's too sodding dangerous. Apparently room temperature water actually sets up your digestive system. So these sounds like stupid things, but it's sci-tech, isn't it? It's psychological technology that, you know, average people just don't have the time to do. Now this is interesting. Let me just show you this. I'm literally walking through the woods and wandering about, and somebody's built a kind of a lean-to shelter here. That's nice, isn't it? So yeah, I found another little beach. So yeah, back to what I was talking about, because I'm out exploring. I've lived here for over a year and I haven't seen this before. This is cool. Anyway, so yeah, wake up in the morning, stretch, drink some room temperature water, get up as early as you can so you've got like more of a start on the day. I mean, if I get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, that's the sort of situation like I don't leave for my evening job until 4 p.m. So 7 a.m. till 4, that's what, 9 hours? 1600, 6 plus 5, 1600. That's 6 hours plus 3, so 9 hours. So I'd have an entire work day before I even had to leave for work. And if I'm working in the evening, my employer's not getting my best hours, but they don't need it. I'm just washing pots and I can do that more or less on automatic. So I could, if you want to suggest some books, I think I've already sort of said what sort of books that we're looking for. We're looking for those sort of self-help books that eventually you find out there's about 3 paragraphs of useful stuff. Yeah, it's like we're going to be trying yoga. We're going to be trying, you know, all sorts of stuff like that. Meditation's really working actually. Although last night, I have to say, I got a bit cross with people. I need to meditate more and I need to be stronger, because, you know, getting angry with people, that's just fear. And yeah, it is annoying though, because when people, I don't mind if I'm working another hour or another 45 minutes because we're on a time clock. If somebody's going to make me 45 minutes late, I can settle in and work it. But when somebody's going to make you 1 minute late for your bus, so you're getting like 5 minutes of extra work of pay, and then you've got to wait an hour for the next bus, that pisses me off. So I've got to learn not to fear that. And I guess if I reconcile myself with getting a different bus and walking from the bus stop to my house, that would be okay. So, but it is aggravating. You're thinking, all that extra effort is effort wasted because someone else is an idiot. And those people that are watching this that work where I work know that I've been in a really good mood for a couple of weeks, and that just really annoyed me. I need to get beyond that. But when you're trying to explain it to someone and they look at you with a super vacant face, like they cannot comprehend that anybody outside of themselves exists, you know, perhaps there's some Neolithic type thing, you know, sort of like I cannot comprehend your safety. You know, if you're if you're in a hunting party and you say, right, you need to be quiet because there are predators in the area, and some dickhead looks at you like that, like they don't comprehend, and then they illustrate with their actions that they're largely going to let you get eaten, and then look all blank-faced and like they didn't understand what was going down, despite the fact you've explained it to them. It probably makes you quite fearful, which is where 90% of anger comes from. You fear an outcome, somebody is facilitating that outcome that you really don't want, and you get angry. But it's a fear response. It's like a human interaction thing. I need to illustrate to you why this is not going to happen. See? You've got to pay attention. You always got to fall over at least once in the woods. Not doing bad for one-handed. It's a really crazy path. So yeah, I've got to get beyond that fear. I've got to not fear that outcome. And maybe when I'm fitter and equipped with my new psychology toolkit of how to get things done, and I'm achieving what I want to achieve, and a blank-faced moron can't make it stop it from happening for me, and I know that. Say if I'm realizing a certain amount of potential, maybe I won't be fearful. Oh, I'm going to stop for a bit. I think we've gone far enough. Yeah, so if I do not fear, I'm not going to be angry. But that doesn't stop it being super frustrating when people do it to you. Yeah, it's like, you know, other people, through their carelessness, wasting my time. So maybe I need to meditate on that. Maybe I need a guided meditation. But that's probably getting a little too close to stoicism, where, you know, it clashes immediately with the other stuff I was talking about yesterday, and I'm trying to learn about the 7 habits of highly effective people. Maybe a certain amount of intolerance towards idiocy and carelessness. I mean, you don't see, I doubt very much. Let me try and think of an effective person who I admire. Yeah, okay, so let's say Henry Rollins. Yeah, I bet Henry Rollins doesn't let people waste his time, and maybe he has a couple of shots at explaining to people that, you know, when you, especially when you get to my age, you know, if you're if like me you're nearly 50 and you can feel death wandering up beside you and offering you a sandwich, you ain't got time to waste. You know, perhaps that's a normal human development thing, you know, be around older people. You know, if you're the sort of person that wastes gigantic amounts of time and puts people in random danger because you're an idiot, that gets corrected in tribal societies. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but maybe that's, you know, part of the circle of life. You know, idiot teenagers in the Neolithic era just getting pushed off cliffs, and with great sadness the shaman returns to the village and says, I am sorry, your child was going to try and get me killed because their open-faced simpleton of a brain was going to put me, it nearly made me fall down a cliff and break my leg, which was essentially a death sentence. So yeah, I left your child on the mountain to die because you were an ineffective parent. But, you know, that's probably a very mean way of looking to it. I can sort of hear people laughing, especially anybody that works in an area where there is where competence is required. But sometimes you just feel like wearing people's skin after the apocalypse and seeing if you can do good enough taxidermy and leatherwork to keep the surprised and uncomprehending look on their face as a hood that you can pull over your face. So you go, no, he looked like this. It's like a goggle-eyed look. Oh yeah, I had to find some shiny rocks to put in the eye holes. But yeah, I tried to tan the expression It took ages, and everybody in the apocalyptic village admires your handiwork and understands that it was a just thing. But that's pretty negative, and I'm trying not to do that. I've been happy at work for nearly 2 weeks, just as I didn't, getting a bit of exercise and having something to do that was a bit more constructive. So yeah, but back to our original point, or my original point, getting up early to give yourself more of a work day so you can get stuff done, and then having a plan. So they're getting up early, and then apply that to the 7 habits of highly effective people could be a thing. So for the next few weeks I'll be getting up at 7, which is real early for me, especially if I've gone to bed at 1. So 6 hours sleep, wake up at 7, and ideally have a glass of water and get straight out into the woods and film something for you guys. So yeah, that will probably involve writing up a bunch of stuff and doing some research after I get back for the next episode. So maybe that will make me more organised. I don't know, I probably need some kind of desk diary or something, but it's not like my house isn't full of notebooks. We'll reuse a few things that were lying around inert that I've kind of hoarded, because I find and hoard stationery because it looks useful, but I never write anything in it. So let's use the junk in my house for something good. So yeah, get up early, water, stretching, sunlight, movement, and then, you know, I'll have a 9-hour work day before I've even got to leave for work. Well, you know, what can you do in 9 hours? And if you're doing that 7 days a week, that you're spending more time working on things that work for you than you are with an employer. So yeah, let's work for ourselves, let's do interesting stuff. But again, we don't know, this is sci-tech. You know, there's a lot of people writing self-help books that don't expect people to actually take the advice, hence they write a really big book and ideally make money from people that aren't going to remotely do it. Oh, I promised to show you this. Let's see if we can get the thing that's making all the noise. There's a whopping great big, it's about a 12-foot waterfall off really picturesque rocks over there. So yeah, it's really nice, and I didn't know it was there. So thank you, interwebs. Thank you to all the people that have watched this, and thanks again to Calum. It's really nice to have someone throw money in a tip jar. I mean, I'm essentially digitally, you know, video busking. You know, but if you know, this is a whole life transformation thing, you know, money's part of that. You know, if thousands of people watch the video and 10 of them decide to throw a couple of dollars in the tip jar on a daily basis, then it's going to work, isn't it? I mean, that isn't saying I will be okay and screw you guys, perhaps. And you know, if you're thinking of doing like a web series and I can be of any help or any ideas, or put you in touch with any software or any, you know, any equipment, or the way the process that I use, if I can, like, you know, we're not crabs in a bucket, you know, we're heroes, you know. So yeah, you know, if there's anything anybody wants to know out there, if you're watching this in the future, I will keep the Urban Agoge mail server up, or the mail address up, for as long as possible. You know, I'm here to help. You know, but if you're watching this in the future and you've seen whether it's worked or not, you know, that's the point. You know, the only way we can produce real verifiable, well, I mean, it's verifiable, but it's like a subjective result, and I can help you to do any part of that. You know, that's what I'm here for. You know, that's the thing. I'm trying to add value. I'm trying to provide a service for which maybe 1% of people might pay, but 1% of people out of a million, you know, that's still 10,000 people. 10,000 people throwing a buck in on a regular basis. You know, I'm not going to do something stupid like quit my job just because there's a sudden upsurge. But if I find myself with $50,000 in my bank account, or £50,000 or more, where I can actually stabilise my life and go, right, that's enough living expenses for, you know, a couple of years. You know, this was obviously successful enough to do stuff. Maybe the whole urban agoge thing will just go on and on. Maybe, you know, the downside of that is that if I'm all fit and buff, me telling you stuff about fitness, you know, is not as effective as me tubbying round. So maybe I can employ someone. Imagine that. Imagine employing someone, say you, and you find, you know, you just, you know, your video product is now mentoring like an 18-year-old kid, and just saying, right, okay, your job is to be Daniel LaRusso to my Mr. Miyagi. I know how to fix you. You know, your entire job, and I'll pay you a living wage because I'm getting so much in subscription, and you will come along and, you know, I'll pay you 15k a year, you know, in pounds, not dollars, probably about 20k in dollars. And what we'll do as a result of that is I will make you fit, I'll make you fiscally responsible, and make you competent to take on anything. Would you watch that? I would. You just had some old guy that went, no, I dicked around and failed to do life right into my 50s, or right up until I was nearly 50, and then went, no, we've got the technology now, you know, we can rebuild me. So yeah, so I think that would be the next stage. If it becomes successful and you're watching this 10 years from now, you know, I don't want to do life coaching. That seems to be a bit parasitical. I intend to do like proven, you know, transformation and proven hero training, you know, and then write the manual, which is what I'm going to do after this. You know, after I've done all this and after I've lived it and done it for 6 months, and if I'm going to continue to do it and those things work, I'll write a book, but it will be a workbook. It won't be a long rambling sociological treatise. There'll be sources in the back if you really want to look it up, and extra explanations and stuff like that, like really this is my experience type thing. But then you'll just be filling in a diary and doing the stuff. So yeah, so today's lesson, I feel all kinds of energized. Get up early, and seriously, I'm not an early riser, but I actually got out of bed. In fact, I had to go back upstairs to turn off the alarm because I'd forgotten I'd set it. I was just awake at 20 to 7, you know. So just that power of suggestion, that almost that self-hypnosis, I will get up at 7, will probably make you get up. So I was halfway through my coffee when the alarm went off, and I'd done a bit of stretching and I drank some water, and yeah. So as I find out more stuff, I'll do this for another week or so and report back. I'll let you know in plain language, not as someone that's trying to shill stuff or books on the internet, but someone that's actually doing it that really wasn't in the group of people that would do it. You know, we'll get back. So I've gone on for far longer than I intended to, but hopefully there's been some useful information in there. And now, and believe me, like the meditation yesterday, which you didn't see on video, and I'm very sorry, but I had all sorts of technical issues with the meditation thing, and I will be doing it today, just so you know. I did do a litter pick yesterday and I filled up a carrier bag of garbage. This is kind of like woodland gym dues, and yeah, I absolutely think that it's yet another handy thing that Misanthropic Gods has handed over for this series, as well as the drum roll. Definitely a few days ago when he said, go and pick up some litter, why don't you? It seems to be covered in the stuff. So yeah, you're probably going to switch off right now, I can tell. But I want you to know that even if you don't believe in it, there's nobody to see me do this apart from you guys. It's not, and I suppose if you guys were to put in the comments and things, oh yeah, it's really good, then I get my oxytocin hit remotely. You know, I don't have to have people here. But I definitely think that it's one of those things that we genuinely have recently. We've got all sorts of cool innovations and stuff, and there's all sorts of cool ways to communicate in the world, and that's one of the things that modern life does give us, You know, mobile, you know, little tiny cheap digital cameras for one. I can't bitch about that if that's what I'm doing. So, you know, if you pick up litter, you know, you don't tend to drop litter. You know, I am aiming for a world where it is not possible to do this. So yeah, non-biodegradable terrible things in a nice attractive woodland setting. So yeah, so to recap, getting up early, I'll be test bedding that, but I can see that there's a good reason to do things like that. Now look, there's no reason that and also I'm finding it a lot less work to bend down. So yeah, so you're doing some bending exercise and becoming more flexible by bending down and picking up litter. Except a stoic might say, do not stoop to pick up that which has fallen, which is part of Greek philosophy. There's a whole school of thought that said, don't do this. So, you know, it's one of the reasons I don't like stoicism. It's all about putting up with what is, instead of going, I am but one person, how do I change it? So yeah, I've got my carrier bag full of litter for the day. So it's 3 carrier bags of litter that just aren't here. And probably I can't even keep up with the amount of rubbish that's being thrown into natural beauty spots like this. But hey, I got to chat with you, got plenty of exercise, got to fall over on camera, and I got to see a nice waterfall and some wildlife and things. And there's now a new piece of my local area woodland map in my head. So there, win, win, win. You know, so that's like a number 5 of Stephen Covey. I came out number 1 of Stephen Covey, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and I've just gone past the bridge. Number 2 was visualize the ending, which I did. I visualized, you know, getting some footage done and editing that and putting it up today. 3 was begin at the beginning. I packed my adventure bag, made sure I had all my stuff an hour before I went for a walk, so I knew for a fact everything I needed was going to be in here. Sharpening the saw. I've got some exercise. Yeah, I'm sure there are others. I only recorded it yesterday. How pathetic is that? So yeah, good things. Yeah, synergy. It's very obvious that I'm working with you guys. You know, not only Calum, who was one of my first subscribers and now my, you know, the first person to throw money in the tip jar, but also Harlequin and Misanthropic Gods were all super involved. So I wouldn't have thought about a lot of this stuff without those guys. And, you know, don't be afraid to share stuff. If you can think of a small improvement that would make this more watchable, or that would bring actually useful info to people anywhere, you know, I would have considered myself quite a self-sufficient human being, you know, a few weeks ago. But now I'm doing stretches and squats and, you know, calisthenics at work, and the difference is changeable. You know, I'm way less grumpy. Maybe I can learn to be less grumpy. Maybe I can, in a calm way, explain to people. Maybe there is my theory of explain something 5 ways. Maybe I can explain it in as many different ways to the people that do not understand, you know, why this makes me angry, in such a way as they're motivated to not make me angry. You know, am I making an assumption that sometimes an explosive display of anger occasionally is how you teach people? And I know lots of you are nodding out there in internet land, but, you know, maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's a psychology book I can listen to as an audio book. There is a book out there, and I don't know who the name of the author, but she's absolutely marvellous. There's a little bit of spirituality and woo-woo, but I'm working on ridding it of that. And when I can explain it reasonably, I'll pass it on to you. But it's called You Are a Badass. And I'll put the title and author, that will be on screen. I'll look into that. But yeah, that's a really interesting book that I've been listening to lately. So I'll put a link, and if there's an Amazon link, I do have an Amazon affiliate link via my other channel, Rangers Tube. So if I find anything that I think is genuinely useful, I'll pop it down below. And yeah, so remember, we're gaming the YouTube algorithm. We need to beat the AI. That'd be good, wouldn't it? They've got a general a focused intelligence that is sorting YouTube, you know, the way that YouTube videos come up. So if you think that this is remotely useful and you want to get it out there, watch the videos all the way to the end, you know, like and subscribe, put the notification button. Even if you're never going to watch it again, but you think it would be useful to other people, you know, you don't have to watch the videos, you know, even if you're notified, but somebody else might want to. And for every time that subscription thing and the notification things goes up and somebody watches it all the way to the end, and I upload a video daily, which is about 4 hours a day, you know, getting all this done, I'm not whining, I'm enjoying it. You know, don't feel pity for me, but I'm seeing this as a possibility to do all sorts of cool things for me, and I want to build a community. I want people that want to be competent. I want people that want to be fit. I want people that think that the world could be a better place, which has got to be all of us. So if you could surrender an hour a day for the next 4 months or 5 months or 6 months at any point in your life and become like a hero, you know, we'll be talking about the philosophy of heroism. But if you could do that and all you had to do was, you know, put in maybe 7 hours a week for 6 months, by which time, I'm telling you, it is not an effort for me to get out here and do stuff. It's not an effort for me to start exercising. And 3 weeks ago, I would have laughed at you if you said, look, you know, in 3 weeks, you're going to be essentially a fitness instructor. I'd have laughed them out of the room. Do you know, in 3 weeks, you won't be eating ice cream, and you'll be thinking about quitting smoking, and you'll be thinking about, you know, not eating donuts and not eating junk food. 3 weeks ago, that's all it was. It's less than 3 weeks. It's like less than 21 days ago. And now, effectively, the least fit person, I mean, I'm big and brawny, but I wasn't fit. The least fit person I know, apart from people that have got actual things wrong with them, as in, I don't have anything wrong with me. I'm a little bit long-sighted, so I can't read fine print and I have to wear glasses for that. But that's the only thing that's physiologically wrong with me. Yet I was in such a mindset, I would have laughed you out of the room. So yeah, you know, let's spread this. You know, this is an actual person doing the stuff that's in self-help books. What more can you ask? Actually, you know, someone that isn't the author of this stuff. I don't have a book to sell. You know, I might do at some point if I can figure out a way of making it understandable and short enough that people will just do it. I might just have a frigging t-shirt to sell. There might be so little information at the end of this that actually gets you kick-started. It's like a t-shirt with Urban Agoge on it, and that's it. Go there, do that. You know, and I'd like to take this opportunity, and if you haven't seen it before, to thank Sean Kennedy and Samarian of Rant Media for laying that seed. Even though that seed was laid in my head, that sounds very... So that idea, shall we say, is a much better term, was basically put into my head like 15 years ago. So if anybody knows how to put this across to Samarian or Sean or ping it to them, I'd be too embarrassed. But if you do, this is a big thank you to you guys. I wouldn't be doing this without you, and I'm really having a ball. So yeah, so let's beat that algorithm, and let's beat our 21st century programming, and let's just beat the system. The world could be like Star Trek. It could be utopian, but it ain't. And the only people that are going to change it is us. That was all inspirational, wasn't it? So, thanks for watching, and do take care.